Thank you for accepting our interview, Harley, and nice to meet you again. So our first question is about what was the overall development and performance of the foreign enterprises in China in the past year?
Certainly. As you know, this morning we released the 2024 special report on the state of business in South China. It's our 20th such annual report. And of course, we're very happy to see the results are quite positive. American companies remained cautiously optimistic towards the recovery of China's economy. 90% of our companies remain profitable, even though with 3 years of very hard time with COVID. And of course, we know that more than 60% of our companies reinvested last year to expand their existing businesses, and we do know that over 60% plan on reinvesting in 2024 in order to continue to capture additional market share. So overall, the mood is positive. It's cautious, but it is positive, and we do believe that the investment is going to continue in China.
Okay, thank you. So I want to ask what further investment areas will the foreign enterprises pay more attention to in China?
Well, you have to look at China is not losing its appeal as a manufacturing center. The reality is that very much like Japan was the workshop of the world after World War II, and as it developed its own technology and moved up the value chain, and no longer had unskilled labor, it moved a lot of its production to South Korea, and South Korea ultimately to Taiwan and Hong Kong, and ultimately everyone came to China to manufacture. Now, days of cheap labor, cheap land in China are over, so the movement is a natural transition, and it is not that China lost its luster as an investment center. The reality is that the investments will continue to China, because at the same time, China has developed one of the largest, probably the second largest consumer market in the world, where we can actually supply and we can serve and we can sell to. As a result of that, the investments in China are going to be higher technology investments, more robotic manufacturing processes, things that require less labor, less land, but also much more efficient both technologically and a lot better on the environment itself. So it's a natural transition, and you can't say it's a negative thing. It's actually a very positive thing, because China consumer market grew at 7% last year, where exports grew at less, and of course fixed investment was even lower than that. So consumer market, consumer spending is what actually delivered the 5.2% increase in GDP growth last year. And that is a direction that is a very good direction for China to go. As you know, 70% of US GDP is services and consumer expenditure. Hong Kong is 75%. China is going to need to achieve that number as it grows and grows out of being the workshop of the world and becomes a consumer-based society. So the transition is quite normal. It is quite helpful to China, and it is a natural transition which is very important to happen.
So as you just mentioned that most foreign companies will continue to invest in China, so can you explain more or elaborate on it, like what size will the foreign enterprises invest in China?
Certainly. One of the parts of our study shows, as it has year after year, that more and more of American companies in South China are producing goods and services in China for the Chinese market. In fact, that number is now roughly 75% of our member companies in South China are producing goods and services in China for the Chinese market, and they're not in the export business. Of those who still export some products out of China, only 60% exported to the United States. So the export part of our American companies in China is far less than it's expected, and far less than people think. The reality is that, on the other hand, China's consumer market is continuing to grow. Our companies have been here for more than 15, 20 years, the majority of our companies. They have already captured most of the market share in South China, and they're looking for additional markets in China to capture and expand their services. To do that, they will have to continue to reinvest. They have to continue to build better, more modern robotic factories in order to produce the goods and services that are needed in the Chinese market. So therefore, the Chinese market offers future promise that we want to do in many, many areas. We are the dominant companies in consumer products, and we want to continue to be that. To do that, we have to reinvest. We have to continue to be a part of China's growth and economy, and we're going to continue to do that.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And as I heard in the press conference that American Chamber has foreseen that the slowing down of China's economy in 2022 and 2023. So how do you view the potential development momentum of China's economy in the future, and what role will it play in the global economy?
Sure. The slowdown in China's economy in 2023 was not unexpected. We're looking to be following 3 years of zero COVID tolerance, 3 years of no foreign experts being able to come to build the factories that we needed. We know that 3 out of every 4 factories that were planned to be built in China were not built. And therefore, if you don't build the factories, usually you won't have GDP growth level that you want 3 years later, because factories, big factories, take about a year or 2 to build and a year or 2 to train to produce. So they won't contribute to the GDP for about 3 more years. What we have seen, on the other hand, from this year's study, is that people back in investing in greater numbers again. And that's going to take probably another year or so before the GDP growth returns to the normal levels of the past. So the reality is that the future remains optimistic. Our companies have said that. 51% feel that actually the business environment improved in 2023. The majority feel that going forward, the future is optimistic. And of course, when people have confidence and are optimistic is when they make the investments. So we're going to be a big part of China's recovery. It is the 2 sessions are very important to us because it determines the future development of China. 15th Five-Year Plan will be coming up very soon, and we want to make sure that our ideas and our thoughts and our contribution to the development of the 15th Five-Year Plan are going to happen as we would like it to do, because we are a big part of the economy. Reality is that 1/3 of China's GDP depends on foreign direct investment. That has happened in the past, and going future is going to be the same. So yes, we're very interested in what the 2 sessions will do. We know that primary focus is going to be foreign direct investment and bring in and further opening up, and we applaud that.
Okay, thank you. So this year also marks the 5th anniversary of the outline development plan of Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area. So how do you view the current business environment and foreign investment environment right now in the GBA, and which aspect might it improve in the future?
Well, reality is that the numbers show that GBA has already surpassed San Francisco Bay, New York Bay Area. It's caught up to the Tokyo Bay Area. We expect by next year it will surpass to all 3 other major Bay Areas in the world. GBA represents an amazing location, which I expect will be the driver of the future of China as a whole, because you have Hong Kong that offers legal services, it offers financial services, freely convertible currency, which is really needed in order for any economy to grow. You have Macau that offers all kinds of entertainment and pleasure services so that people can live a happy life and be a part of the society as a family. And of course, you have the 9 cities on the mainland. When you move up to Shenzhen, Shenzhen is offering top universities, postgraduate degree programs that will contribute the human resources that are needed for the continued growth of the area. You have Dongguan that is going to continue to offer high-tech manufacturing, robotic and high-tech manufacturing. Guangzhou as a regional headquarters for companies. And what I mean by regional headquarters will be Asia Pacific regional headquarters that can be set up in Guangzhou, as well as its ability with University City and Guangzhou City and other parts of Guangdong province. So I think the reality is that the future of the Greater Bay Area is going to be bright. We're going to be investing heavily in this area, and we're going to benefit from it equally.
Okay, thank you. So Guangdong as the province attracting most foreign enterprises in here. How should the foreign enterprises and the local companies cooperate more in the future?
Well, I think the reality is that we continue to work with our counterparts in China. We have an excellent relationship between our companies and our partners, partner companies in South China. Most of our manufacturing is actually not done by our own companies, but by OEMs, Chinese companies who manufacture the various parts and components of what we produce to sell primarily in China. So the continued relationship is going to be great. And as a result of that, both Chinese and American companies will continue to grow in here in South China.
So let's go into the U.S. zone.
Okay.
This year, with the upcoming of the U.S. presidential elections, what do you think this might affect or impact on the U.S.-China trade relations?
Well, it's always, politics is always unpredictable. We don't know who is going to be elected to run, as president of the United States in the next for the next 4 years. That's going to determine part of how U.S. and China relations are going to work. But I do expect that because we are the two largest economies in the world and our economies are intertwined, and the fact is that millions of Americans depend on their jobs based on the business relationship with China, and millions of Chinese depend on their jobs for the exports and other relationship with the United States, that our business relationship is going to continue. Now, the reality is this: yes, we do have major differences. Our governments have major differences between themselves, but the areas that we have in common between U.S. and China are far more than the differences that we have. So I expect that the future is going to involve cooperation between U.S. and China, because the two countries are going to continue to lead the world into future prosperity.
So last year, the market still worried about the technical recession of U.S. economy, but this year we have the market consensus that for the U.S., it is more likely to have a soft landing. Right. So what do you think this might affect the U.S. reinvestment in China?
Well, of course, the reality is that our investments in China are no longer driven by export manufacturing. They're driven by the desire of our companies to produce and sell goods and services in China for the Chinese market. And therefore, we want to continue to be part of the Chinese economy. And in order to protect our market share, we will have to continue to invest here. At the same time, contrary to popular belief, U.S. is open for investment by Chinese companies in most areas. And I think Chinese companies will need to begin to invest in the U.S. in order to capture additional market share that they have and introduce their products and services in the U.S. as we do in China.
Okay. Last but not least, we have a very interesting topic. As we know, the Sora launched by the OpenAI recently has just become a very hot topic around the world. So do you think there will be more cooperation in AI industry between China and US in the future?
Well, in fact, last year, one of the agreements the US and China received was management of AI and AI development. So yes, two countries already have an agreement. They work together for the future development of AI. It certainly needs to be regulated in the proper way to make sure the consumers and the population of both countries are protected in the process. AI has been with us for many years. It is just beginning to develop in a way that people are taking notice, and I think the future of AI is going to help humanity in a great way, as long as the two countries are willing to work together, which I think they are.
So just add a question. So in your opinion, such thing like Sora or AI will make people lose their job in the near future?
Well, I remember the same question was asked when the personal computer was first developed.
Yes.
Well, people thought they would lose their jobs, it would replace many of people. In fact, personal computers created hundreds of millions of jobs around the world that did not exist before, and many people have gotten rich as a result of it. AI is just another tool for humans to move into the next level of development of human face. And I think it's simply going to eliminate a few jobs, but at the same time, it's going to create thousands times more jobs than existed before.
Okay, thank you today for accepting our interview.
Thank you
so much.